What is a supervolcano? The answer is not so simple. We know we have about 21 supervolcanoes worldwide. Supervolcanoes are defined by their ability to produce super eruptions, explosions of more than 240 cubic miles of volcanic material, but scientists disagree on how useful the term is. Few volcanoes on Earth boast the fantastical title of supervolcano, but what makes these ubervolcanoes so super is the superlative always justified. It very much depends on who you ask. A supervolcano is a volcano that has produced at least one super eruption, meaning that at some point in its history, it has ejected more than 240 cubic miles or 1,000 cubic kilometers of volcanic material, enough to fill Sydney Harbor 2,000 times. This scores an 8 on the Volcano Explosivity Index, VEI, a scale that measures the volume of material ejected, as well as the height and intensity of the eruption plume. A super eruption is over 1,000 times bigger than what Mount St. Helens volcano did in 1980. In that explosion, Michael Poland, a research geophysicist and scientist in charge of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, told Life Science. He said the cataclysmic eruption produced a 9-hour-long explosion that fired rocks and ash more than 15 miles into the air and blasted the top off the volcano. The resulting cloud of debris caused complete darkness up to 250 miles from the volcano, with ash falling as far as the Great Plains, more than 930 miles away. Super eruptions eject so much magma that Earth's crust above the magma chamber collapses into a bowl-shaped landscape known as a caldera. Calderas, such as the one at Yellowstone, can measure dozens of miles across and host volcanoes or cinder cones that can produce smaller eruptions. The volcano at Yellowstone has had two super eruptions. The largest Huckleberry Ridge tuff eruption occurred 2.1 million years ago and spewed 590 cubic miles of volcanic debris. The other, known as the Lava Creek eruption, produced 240 cubic miles of material 631,000 years ago. Yellowstone has experienced dozens of smaller eruptions since then, Poland said, leading to confusion around the definition of a supervolcano. He said, "I think that the term is misleading because it implies to most that those sorts of volcanoes only ever have massive explosions, when in reality the common form of eruption at such volcanoes is a much smaller event, like a lava flow." The supervolcano label is also applied by the media and some scientists to volcanoes that have never produced a super eruption, such as Capi Flegrei in Italy. Muddying the waters further, Poland said, the largest eruption at Capi Flegrei, which occurred 39,000 years ago, produced 10 times less volcanic material than a super eruption, scoring a 7 on the VEI. That is still huge, obviously. But at the same time, that it has not had such an eruption does not diminish Capi Flegrei in any way, Poland said. Even a smaller eruption there could be massively disruptive. Worldwide, 9 active volcanoes fulfill the criteria for a supervolcano according to 2022 study. In the U.S., Yellowstone is joined by Long Valley Caldera in California and Valles Volcano in New Mexico. The other supervolcanoes are Toba in Indonesia, Taupo in the North Island in New Zealand, Atitlan in Guatemala, and Aira Kikai and also in Aso in Japan. I didn't know Aso was a supervolcano. Okay, now I know. Now, beneath the ocean is a different issue, but supervolcanoes are less likely to develop in these settings, the study's authors say. Shanaka De Silva, professor of volcanology at Oregon State University, and Stephen Self, an adjunct professor of volcanology at University of California, Berkeley. while De Silva and Self argue in favor of using the term supervolcano to refer to these 9 volcanoes, Poland prefers calling them caldera systems, a category that he takes to include any volcano that has experienced an explosion massive enough to that the surface has collapsed into a partially emptied magma chamber. He wrote in a 2019 article in Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles. He said, I think supervolcano also implies to some people that there used to be a really massive mountain where the eruption occurred, he said, but volcanoes that have had super eruptions never had such mountains and instead featured broadly scattered eruptive vents. De Silva and Self similarly noted that in their study that supervolcanoes differ from other volcanoes, not only in that the biggest eruptions are outsized and their impact is potentially far greater than normal eruptions, but the appearance of the volcano itself after eruption is also distinctive. It does not conform to the common image of a volcano. So why not refer to them as caldera systems, large calderas or caldera complexes? Supervolcanoes have key features that distinguish them from volcanoes that form smaller calderas when they erupt, De Silva and Self wrote. Notably, unlike other caldera-forming volcanoes, supervolcanoes expand their magma reservoirs rather than blowing their tops frequently. We still don't understand how these large magma chambers are able to form, Poland said, but one explanation is that the elastic magma chambers that feed supervolcanoes form when blobs of magma that differ in composition mix together, Poland said. Once you assemble such a large and complex magma reservoir, it could become destabilized and erupt. Research suggests super eruptions at Yellowstone involved multiple explosive events. It's not a single explosion that empties the chamber all at once, Poland said. Rather, the eruptions are complex events that tap those multiple coalesced pods of magma and might be separated by weeks or even years. While the term supervolcano is sometimes misused, it's probably not going anywhere, De Silva and Self wrote. Rather than throw our hands up in frustration and ignore it, we should recognize that the term is here to stay and work its correct usage. And this is on Life Science by Sacha Payer. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.